guys, I am Patty Elhoff, the author of Upcycle with Decoupage, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Scobie Books, which is out of England. So if you're overseas and you're looking to buy the book, there is a distribution center over there, so you don't have to pay $1,000 to ship. But today I'd like to show you how we're going to take one of those regular old clay pots and turn it into something a little bit more vintagey, pretty, decorative, and certainly more substantial. I'm going to show you how we can strengthen these. The one I'll be showing you today is a little bit different from this, so let me tell you what we'll need to get started. Obviously, we're going to need just a regular old clay pot that you can find for pretty cheap in any of the plant places. Some tulle. I tore up some fabric that had some script on it to make the ribbon. Some pretty napkins. This is available on my website. The link will be right there as you go to the page. This is called plaster gauze. This is tea water. It's very dirty because you'll see as we go along how I've been using this. You just need a cup of water with a bunch of tea bags. I used 5 to make it a very strong tea. Need some decoupage glue. A flat or matte varnish to go over this. We're making it look aged. A few paintbrushes, one of them being one of the artist's brushes. And just a few sponge brushes. This isn't necessary, but I did use glimmer mist over the napkins. We'll need some scissors, and it's really important that you lay some crafts paper down because this is a very sloppy, drippy, messy project. And here's the first thing we should do to get started. I'm going to take a cup that I normally use for crafting, and I'm going to put 5 tea bags in it. I'm going to boil the water, and I'm going to put 5 tea bags in there once it's boiling, and I'm going to let it sit. And we're going to use the tea water instead of plain water. So if you think you're going to be using this for an actual plant where you're going to water it and things like that, you have to seal the inside. There's a spray that you can buy that's called a clay pot seal. So we're just going to paint the inside and the outside of this and let it dry. The clay pot's dry inside and out. Our tea has cooled off significantly. So this is called plaster gauze. I'm going to cut it into strips. For this top piece, I'm just going to make a piece that's a little bit wider than the top of the clay pot. Now they instruct you to dip it in water, and the reason I have the tea is because I want to age this. So you're supposed to dip it in water, and that activates the hardening agent. And that's also why we want a cup, a crafty type of a cup. By the way, I have been experimenting with my nails, so forgive the look of them today. I'll probably be showing you what's going on with those in a few more weeks once they're grown a little bit more too. Once they have grown a little bit more. So I've wrapped this around the pot. And you can see how easily it conforms. Down here, I'm just going to press it in under this lid. Excuse me while I go take care of the squirrel that is taunting my dogs out the window. You can also see how you can see through the gauze, which is another reason that I wanted to paint the pot below. So I'm just going to continue this right down the pot until I've got the whole thing covered. I think it was easier, rather than taking one long strip and wrapping it around, if I cut the strip in half and just wrapped half and half and went around like that. If you've got any spots where you've still got some openings, and I am going to cover the bottom, but if you've got any spots like that, you can just take a little piece of this gauze, same steps, dip it in the tea, and place it right over there. This sticks to itself, this gauze. It's really messy. I've rinsed my fingers off several times. I'm right next to the sink. So I've rinsed my fingers off several times as I've done this. I'm going to put this aside to dry, and I actually like where there's a little bit more of a stain. I believe it sets up pretty quickly all on its own, but the fact that I'm dripping it into the tea water and letting the tea water sit on it, I think it's going to take a little bit longer to dry. So at least a half an hour in a very dry oven, or I'll start it off with a little bit of heat and then come right back for the next step. The clay pot is now dry, and you can see there are different variations in the color. It is still definitely not white, but I love that there are some little stained spots on there. That's what I'm going for. You may have a vintage ribbon, an antique ribbon. I'm actually going to take this tool, and again I'm going to dip it in my tea and let it dry while I'm decoupaging, because this is so thin and fine it dries right away. Now I have some fabric that had a lot of script, big lovely French script on it, and what I did was I tore it, and it's almost already the same color, so I really don't have to do much to this, although I think I still want to add a few stains to it here and there. Getting carried away with the tea stains. Okay, I'm going to put this aside to dry. Going to decoupage over the pot. And what I did was I took these napkins, which started out like this, and I just spritzed a little bit of this glimmer mist on here, because you can see how it stained it a little bit more. I want to go around this napkin and take off the hard edges. And wherever you wet it, it's going to tear that much easier. We do want to separate the napkin so that it's just one ply. That top piece is all we want. Want to make sure we have a piece of plastic wrap already torn. And we'll add the decoupage glue. Carefully place the napkin down where you want it. Stretch the saran wrap, and we want to pull the saran wrap this way, tightly, and then down. There. You want to throw the saran wrap away. You don't want to use that same piece on the rest of the napkins. So we'll go around and just complete the other side. Now you may want to spray a little bit more of this glimmer mist on this area. And we're going to put this aside to dry. Now these are dry, and you can see how aged and weathered this pot looks. This gauzy material will also reinforce these clay pots, which tend to be very weak. Sometimes I buy these, and by the time I get them home, one of them is broken already. They're just so easy to break. This will actually keep things together. So what I'm going to do now is put another layer of decoupage glue over the surface. I'm going to go on to the next step and just add a few the ribbon around the top. I'm going to add a few embellishments, and then we'll be done. Once again, I'm Patty Elhoff, the author of Upcycle with Decoupage. Thank you so much for subscribing. Any questions, please feel free to comment, and I will see you next week. You have a great week in the meantime. Bye-bye.